My name is Edward J. Bender, Jr., and my rank was Captain, U.S. Naval Reserve, retired. I was supposed to do an exchange with the Australian Army, with the Australian Army, the day that the gun mount explosion took place. So I never got to go, and as soon as the accident took place, we beat feet to Subic Bay again, because we had a very, very damaged mount. We had had some fires on the ship because of that. We had already evacuated like 14 sailors, and we had 3 dead bodies. So we needed to get out of there as quickly as possible. Well, it's funny because the mount that blew up was the forward mount, and I have to say that I was probably the closest person to that mount on the bridge, because it was a forward mount. I was probably the closest person on the bridge, and that was a sort of a traumatic experience, because when the mount blew up, it was facing to starboard, and the barrel that blew up was the port barrel. If the starboard barrel would have blown up, I probably wouldn't be here today to tell you about it. Okay, we got to Subic, and we were trying to find a replacement mount, and we couldn't find a replacement mount for a while. And what they did was they put a plate on the deck of the destroyer and sent us right out to do, plane guard, mostly plane guarding, because at that time we only had one more mount. We had the after mount. We would go back and forth between Vietnam and Subic, and finally they identified a mount that, well, first of all, there was an aft mount that had been on a Navy ship that had been cut in half by an Australian aircraft carrier, and they identified the after mount as a replacement mount, and we turned it down because after mounts are not as fortified, because they don't hit the waves as strongly as a forward mount would. But they finally found a forward mount for us in Yokosuka, Japan. So we went to Yokosuka, and we spent probably 10 days in Yokosuka while they refitted the mount, and then we went out on sea trials to make sure that the mount would work. So, and then we went back onto the line after that. We were in Yokosuka, as I said, which is, I don't know how many miles south of Tokyo, but it's a good train ride. And I think over a weekend, we went on some USO sponsored trip where we went to Tokyo and went to all kinds of restaurants and shows and things like that, and then came back at an unbelievably cheap rate. I mean, it was almost nothing, Oh yeah, that was fine. We had a great time. But those are that was the place, because we were going in and out of port trying to make sure that this mount was going to work before we left Japan.